The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Supernatural, metaphysical, paranormal. You know, all those things you've been wondering about? Are you ready to go deeper into the realms of the unknown? I hope you've got your walking shoes on, because life is an adventure, and this is the journey. Come on, let's go. Hello and welcome to the show, everyone. This is the Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She Squatchers. I'm Jen Cruz, your host, and I've got both of my trusty teammates on the line tonight. I've got the beautiful and talented Jenna Grover. Hi, Jenna.
Well, howdy, y'all. Last time saying hello from Texas until next year.
Yay, she's coming home. I'm so excited, and she's not happy, but I'm happy. And then we've got the deadly but quiet Tammy.
Hi, everybody. Deadly. Okay.
You're the kickboxer. You're the deadly one.
Lethal.
Oh, yeah, she's our lethal weapon. She's security. Beware, everybody, if I ever yell, security! Tammy's the one who's coming. So
Definitely.
beware.
Not me.
Well, we've got a good show for you tonight. We've got Cindy Goodbrake joining us from northern
Idaho.
Idaho. I'm like, why did I want to say Utah?
Well,
you're in Utah.
No. I'm in northern Idaho, but right now I am visiting my mother in Utah, and I don't know. So I'm currently talking to you in Utah.
See, I wanted to say Utah, but I'm like, that's not right. She's not from Utah. See?
It's okay. I'm kind of from all over. I'm actually from Texas, so I'm a Texicana.
I love that.
All right. Well,
yes, I'm so sorry about the strange situation. I really haven't had a lot of problems with my phone, as far as like the volume. That's so strange. That's the first time that's happened.
Prior to the show, we had Cindy on video and we couldn't hear her. She was just in and out, in and out. There was no way. And she was quiet, and Cindy is not a quiet person. So
that is not an insult. I'm not a quiet person either. We're just individualistic, right, Cindy?
Yes, my darling.
There you go. All right. So we've got less than an hour to talk about Bigfoot. And so I know that you started looking into Bigfoot when you were living down in Texas. How old were you? When did that start, and how come?
So I saw the Patty Gimlin film when I was young, I don't know, 8, 9, when it first came out. And then in 1998, 99, I started looking into it. And from 99 to 2003, I was like in some parts of East Texas. They call it the Big Thicket, but a lot of people have misconceptions about the Big Thicket. But we've been to some areas that before they were famous, like now, Boykin Springs. We've had a lot of crazy things happen down there at that area, and now that's almost overrun with researchers. But it doesn't matter, because I went there a year ago, and I camped out with like Ann and Kenny Walls and Michelle and her husband. They do the Southeast Texas event. I think that is in the Bigfoot Roadshow. So that was fun. And I also went to Brown Springs in Oklahoma, and that's another area that I've been to a couple of times. But my main areas when I was down there was the Kiamichi Mountains, in Talihina and Honobia, and I know I'm saying that wrong, so I never say that correct. I've had a lot of encounters there and in Texas, of course, and we actually have a couple of properties down there. But my old house where I lived at, we started like snowbirding, so that was a experience. The winter of 2021 into 2022, we were there, and that was when I went back to those two areas, Brown Springs in Oklahoma, which is very notorious. And just type that in on YouTube, and you'll hear some crazy stories. Another thing to type in if you want to hear a crazy story is go to, I'm not sure what show it was on, but just type in the Siege of Honobia, Honobia. That is a crazy story. And we would take our horses there, and I was so crazy. Some of the things I did, I would ride solo while people would go out, like 30 to 60 people would go horseback riding. And sometimes we would go as a family. But there was a event that happened there, and it's called the Siege of Honobia, if you want to hear about it. I think it could have been Sasquatch Chronicles, but my family was also was friends. My aunt Dot Burnett, she was a realtor in town there, and she knew the family. So, and it's a really crazy story. Those were the main areas where I researched until I moved up north to my current property in 2004. And that is when everything that I thought I ever knew about this has just done a complete 180, is where I live right now in North Idaho.
All right. So what did you think before?
Well, I didn't know what to think, because, well, first I was shocked because I was expecting to hear like the Pacific Northwest. I mean, if you would have told me years ago, I would have lived up here. I wouldn't have known it. I didn't know they were there in the area, one, and some of the people that taught me a lot of what I know, like how to track and some of the behaviors of the Sasquatch down there. These are families that grew up on ranches, like their grandparents and their, parents, on homesteads, like over 100 years. And two of the people that taught me, that were my mentors back in the day, they taught me a lot. And so I'm very, proud to have been associated with them. And, this is before Bob Gimlin even, that came out with his footage. And I also didn't know what they were, but I thought my opinion was only physical, like, which people like to say flesh and blood, because they are that now, but they're at least where I'm at, what I'm experiencing. But so I like to say in the physical form. I thought like they were just, I didn't think that they were people. I did not think that they were necessarily, just something hominid, I guess, but just not really sure. And so I was probably researching like 4 or 5 years before I moved up north. And I thought I had seen it all, but not with everything that's happened where I live currently.
Now, Cindy, you said that who was it that you said you had learned a lot from? What kind of things were you learning from and learning about?
The behaviors of what they experienced. For example, Kumbo is someone pretty popular, and there's another person that goes by the name of Bear. they became my mentors, and mainly those two. But I learned a lot from other people, like how to track in the woods. But the things that they grew up with as a child and their experiences on their family farms and ranches, and in the South they call them boogers and hanks. So, and they're not very nice. My encounters, I
You
have
you
been
mean
chased out on.
the Bigfoot aren't
Mhm,
very
go ahead.
nice, or the names aren't very nice?
Ha!
No,
Both.
the Sasquatch, my experiences with them, but now that I look back, I could, it could have been misinterpreted. I've been chased out a couple of times, like flanked, and it's hard to see anything in the woods when your eyes are straight ahead on a horse and you're trying to run out. So I learned from them the things that they went through. So I guess if that's what you're asking, and what I thought that they were versus what I know now. So, but I'm sure we'll get into that.
All right. Jenna, you got a question?
Actually, I've got a few, but you said we'll
Mhm.
get into that. I'm ready to get into that now.
That is so funny. Okay, well, I mean, where would you like me to start?
Just where you left off.
So my husband, so I'm married and I have two children. My children were young when we moved, 8. My oldest was 8 and my youngest was 2. So when we moved across the country, we hauled our horses, and I had not seen my house in person. And something happened to me in the Big Thicket, actually Boykin Springs. One night we went to this one area where we researched, and we had a lot of things happen and encounters. But this one night, a couple of us had some things happen, and they've talked about them on other podcasts. And what happened to me was I was in the woods with my friend Kelly. She has since passed away. She passed away in 2011, but
I'm
she was
sorry.
super sensitive. Oh, thank you. That's okay. She was like my best friend at that time. So we were all at this one location this one night, and I don't know if we came at a bad time. We were in 2 or 3 vehicles, and I really have blocked a lot out. I've called Bear a couple of times, and he's probably going to kill me because I've asked him over and over, like, what happened that night. The only thing I can tell you is that we were all there, and at one time, whoever had the night vision, a couple of people did. There was a lot of entities coming in through the woods. So I did not see them with my own eyes, so I can't say it was a Sasquatch, but I know something was coming in, and I was looking at my friend Kelly, and the next I couldn't move, and that was probably like the craziest experience I've ever had of being frozen. I mean, I literally was locked up, and I was looking at Kelly, and she lit up like her body was outlined in some kind of dim light, and I have no idea what that was about. But and it seemed like a long time that I was released. So, and I kind of like fell, and I caught myself. And then my friend Kelly looked at me, and I was like, "What happened? What happened to you?" Kelly was very sensitive to what I'm going to say is infrasound. Whether that is what that is or not, I don't know. But I know it was tied to that night, to that event, because other people experienced similar or strange things that happened to them.
Cindy,
Um,
can I stop you and just ask you a little bit more
yeah,
about the feeling that you felt? When you felt this, did you say you kind of just felt numb? Oh, like,
I
explain the feeling, how you felt emotionally, how it felt physically in your body.
I was panicking because I remember trying to move my eye, like look like I was looking at Kelly, and then one thing I remember is I couldn't. I mean, it didn't hurt. There was a low vibration that was tied to it, because I remember talking about that with Kelly, and I mean, I don't know how else. I was just frozen. And there was this weird vibration that was tied to it. And then I was released. It was so obvious. I fell to the ground, but I stopped, but I didn't fall completely like to the ground. And that was when I think a bunch of it, like when we just got in the vehicles and when we were leaving, the entryway was blocked. And I know somebody cleared it out. That was a really crazy night. That's just one example. We've had so many things happen. But I was sick for like a day and a half. I came home and my husband was mad. He's like, "Why are you so tired?" Like, and I said, "I have no idea." Now, Kumbo is the expert on talking about this. I mean, y'all should actually have him on your show. He can break down. He talks about frequencies, and he explained that we would get sick because of it. And so, I mean, I'm not a scientist, so, but he knew a lot about that. So I don't know how else that's the best way I can describe it.
No, that's great. Thank you.
But it was because of that event, I was going to be done researching, like, period. Like, I actually had my pastor tell me, "That's Cain. Like, you don't need to be out there. You're playing with Pandora's box, and you're a bad person. You have a child. You shouldn't be doing that. You're a bad wife." And I remember, and so I was really tripped out from that one night. And so at that time, we knew that we were going to be moving, or we were trying to move. And when my husband was up here in Idaho, because of that event, I said, "No house in the woods. Like, I don't care if we move, not in the city." But there was nothing available. So I stayed back in Dallas because I had a career, and he came up to North Idaho first. And he was with the Army. So he found this house, and I mean, which I love my house, but I'm going to tell y'all right now, that was not a coincidence that I moved there. I was supposed to move there. And
Okay, tell us why.
As soon as we moved there, we did haul our horses up there, and I had a couple of dogs. And my husband was gone quite a bit because he was, like I said, in the service. He was actually over the battalion there of the motor pool. And will never forget when we were pulling in down our road. It's like a logging road, and I could smell the pines, and I knew I could just feel that it was not ever going to be the same again. And sure enough, within a couple of weeks, I noticed I had a routine. I would go feed the horses early in the morning. My husband would get up. He would leave really early. And my son, because we lived so far out, the school buses would come like at 6:40 a.m. So I could sit on my front porch in the morning and have coffee after everybody was gone to school and to work, except my youngest was still asleep. I can't tell you how many times I sat on my front porch just to listen. And from time to time, I would hear sounds that were further away, but I have heard just about every sound, a roar, like at night. Sometimes I'd walk around close to the house at night, because like now we have better lighting. We have a shop with a light on top of that. And so we didn't have all that we did when we first moved there. A couple of weeks or months into us being there, I got there in June or July of 2004. One of the first things that we wanted to do was ride our horses up the mountain. So The other thing is the mountain that's literally in front of my, like, I'm at kind of in front of the mountain. It's called Hoodoo Mountain, Hoodoo. So these are all just weird circumstances. Like, I just can't believe that I moved to an area with a mountain that, like, my luck. So I noticed where I fed and watered my horses that one morning it looked like their manes and tails had been messed with. And I've seen this in Texas, and I've talked about this with other people. Now, what that is, I have no idea. I don't know. I didn't see who did it, so I can't confirm. And then one morning I found tracks, only one or two, but they were so obvious. And at that time, they didn't have like Facebook and all that stuff. I remember calling my son out, and he saw the track, and I covered it up with this bucket. It was this blue bucket that had rope handles. I'll never forget it, because my husband kept saying, "Don't use that. That's for the horses." And I didn't cast it. I didn't do anything because I wasn't trying to do that at that time. I was actually starting to shut it off. I didn't want to hear anymore. But as time went on, I had a lot of things happen. One morning I was taking the kids to school, and well, that story of the track, it started raining, and I just took the bucket off. So that was the last part of that story. But I've had people ask me, why didn't you cast it? Well, where I live, it's very sandy, and a lot of pine needles fall everywhere. So, and I'm not really good at casting. And honestly, I really haven't done it that much, because I was always with a team of people, and someone would always, cast, or I didn't have like all that fancy equipment. I couldn't really afford it. Plus, I'm not a tech kind of person, and so I just never had like any kind of equipment or anything at that time. So because people ask me, did you cast it? No, I did not. And then they look at you like, but I wasn't trying to. So this other morning when I was taking my son to the bus stop, I was 10 acres down, and I pulled over because I had a flat. So the kids had to run to the end of the road. I picked up my friend's son who lived 10 acres down. So I would leave my driveway, stop, he'd run out, and then I saw I had a flat. So I took.
Uh-oh, where'd she go?
I think she dropped.
Cindy.
No, the phone hung up or something.
Oh, did it?
Well, and the
Or what?
story was just getting good.
Call her back. Call her back.
Oh, man.
Well,
Well, thank you everybody for listening. This is sorry about that. She just happened to get off the line really quick.
I see Sherry's in the chat room saying, I guess Bigfoot chooses you. And the way I read that was, Bigfoot chooses you. That was what happened in my head. I was like,
With
yeah.
exclamation.
Oh no, what happened?
There you are.
You were just
Sorry,
gone.
what happened?
You were just gone. I don't know what happened.
How strange. So what's the last thing I said?
You picked up your friend's son who lived 10 acres down.
Oh, okay. Yes. So, and that was actually when I heard a weird noise. So that was pretty much all that I said. So I had a flat, and the kids had to run to the bus stop. But my road is not a very thick road, and there's moose. At that time, there was a lot of moose in the woods, like all the time. So it's not really smart to be walking around in the pre-dawn when it's still dark. So I watched them run down the road, and then I started walking home, which is only 10 acres. And at that time, it was like that blue color in the morning hours. And I heard my name being called from the woods. So basically, it's the property right next door to mine, I heard my name being called, and it didn't really scare me. It did, I mean, a little bit. And I just said, "What?" And that was that. And I walked home, and I didn't even tell my husband, I don't think, but I'd had weird things like that happen. There was this deer that the mother died, and people were feeding it. They shouldn't have fed it, but I mean, but that's what the situation was. And one day I walked outside to go to my neighbor's, which I would have walked through the woods to go to my neighbor on the other side, because the property that I was in front of is to my right, and that was an empty 5 acres, and that is super wooded. So my neighbor on the other side, I was trying to go through the woods to her house, and my horse trailer started shaking. And I thought this deer that everybody was feeding got trapped inside the horse trailer. And so I looked inside, and there was nothing in there. And that really scared me. I ended up going to my neighbor's house and told her what happened, and she said I looked like I was just terrified. So those are just two examples of weird phenomena that was happening. And then years later, my children had encounters. My older son was camping out. It was his birthday. He was on the backside of our property around this time, actually, and he had some friends with him, and they heard heavy walking around. But when they looked outside, there was nothing there, and they thought we were playing a trick on them. There was nobody there, and I don't know if it was light out or early morning, but there was just nobody there, and they were at the absolute back of the property, which we've cleared some of that out now. So it was a lot more wooded back then. And also that my neighbor who is there now, there was nothing built there at that time. So there was 5 or 10 acres that were open there, but thickly wooded, plus mine. So that's like 15 acres. So there have been other things that have happened. And then my younger son, he's had some crazy encounters. But if we skip ahead to like 2017, over that time, I decided to start. I went and I got a audio recorder from Walmart. Again, I'm not a tech person, and I was just going to do this for myself. I put out my audio recorder on my front porch, and I heard the audio the next day, and I could not believe what I got. I got some, they were throwing like pine cones at my truck, and then some stones. And these are not pine cones that are falling from the top, because there's a distinct sound when a little pebble hits metal versus a pine cone hitting the top of the truck from a pine tree falling down, or when a pine cone comes sideways. This is how intense this has gotten. I've learned all the tiny little sounds when they do stuff like that. So on that audio, I didn't get like any roars or anything like that, but I got a lot of the rock pinging and the pine cone throwing, and they were throwing these pine cones out my truck, which I thought was.
Oh.
And then there was a
Cindy, I know you can't actually see us, but we're actually giving you the hang on, it's a timeout here. It's a quick commercial break.
We'll be right back.
commercial.
Stay
Okay.
tuned, everybody. All right, we should be clear, but everything you say is going to be recorded and put on YouTube. Just be forewarned.
Okay.
Yes. And you know what? We can, after the break, we can start talking about some other things that I know you wanted to bring up, Cindy. So you can bring that up however you want to.
Oh yeah, sure. I wanted to get into some of the crazy stuff going on my property though too. Like, you know what I mean? Like what's happening now. Like that's more important.
Okay.
Okay.
You only have an hour though, right?
Yeah, we have less than half hour left because we stopped the show at 59 after sharp so they can move to the next live show.
That's totally fine.
Yeah. All
yeah,
right.
That's so weird that we had problems with but at least you could do it this way, right?
Yeah.
Definitely.
So
Definitely.
that works. Yeah, totally
Good idea
weird.
with a phone call.
Well, yes, because I had another phone a couple of years ago, and there was a situation with that. But they could hear me, but they wanted me to use the earbuds, and I don't know. But anyway, that was how we did it.
Very good.
And Jenna, next year when I'm in Texas, we need to go out. Like, I will come and get you because you'll be like 3.5 hours, and we can go to. I'll take you to Boykin Springs, and if you want to be brave, I'll take you to Brown Springs.
Okay, let's be real quiet.
I'm waiting for the go. We can dance until it happens.
My timer must be off.
Welcome back to the show. This is the Journey Radio Show, and hey, we're the She Squatchers. Won't you check us out online at shesquatchers.com? And hey, we have a YouTube channel that we would love for you to come subscribe to. Won't you come over to She Squatchers Official and click subscribe and follow us there. We're also on Facebook and Instagram under the same name, She Squatchers Official. So please come over, follow us there for all the latest goings on with us. And hey, we're back to the show. I've got Jen, Jenna, and Tammy, and our guest tonight is Cindy. Hi, Cindy.
Hey there. So since we are pushed for time, I had my property. Someone said my property is like Skinwalker Ranch, and we're not going to have time to get all into this. I know that. But my younger son, Justin, he has had encounters with a skinwalker. He's been chased by something in the area. So there's a story about that. There's Thunderbirds that I've taken some reports. And my son has also been followed by a Sasquatch. My kids they have dirt bikes and four-wheelers, and I'm always on my four-wheeler up in the area. I'll do a lot of live videos. So I have just way too many crazy stories. But like I was telling y'all, the phenomena is so crazy. My thinking changed when I could not explain things. So I've had people on my property, and they have heard like grunts and around a campfire, and there's nothing there, and I just left. Like I've had Paranormal Portal, Brent and Dawn. They actually live in the next town over, and so they've been on my property, and they've actually done a live show. And Brent heard, like me and Brent heard like this grunt, and there's nothing there. Other people have experienced things, but for me, the phenomena that changed my way of thinking about the Sasquatch is that I really tried to turn it off. I really did. And I was successful for a little bit of the time, but there has been so much stuff that has been in my face. So I have seen them dematerialize before my eyes. Okay. I'm just gonna tell you all that right now. Without telling you the long story. So a lot of what I will do is I will go outside in the early morning hours, and I will take my coffee. And I had 3 dogs at one time. Now I just have 1 dog. But at that time, I started audio recording. So I have got roars. I have got my dog. So one night, I'll tell you this story. My dog, it was spring break. This is how I learn by association because I'm so ADD. It was spring break of 2018, and I had this lab, and my husband was out of town, but that has nothing to do because things happen anyway. It was spring break, and the kids My son had a couple of friends over, and they were staying in the RV outside, being teenagers. So what I would do is I would put my audio recorder out whenever I decided to record, and I would just let it run all night. So this one night after I went to bed, I put the audio out, and I went to bed. The next day, I heard it, and Gunner, my dog, had gone through the doggy door, and my front acre, I have an acre that's fenced in. And he went to the right side of my property, and there's a massive game trail that goes between my property and my neighbors. And in my audio, Gunner is barking. I had to hear this a couple of times. And Gunner is barking, and he is barking, and then there's this roar that comes afterwards. And that really made me mad. I walked out to my road, and I walked down to where the fence was, and Gunner had dug a huge hole, but he didn't get out. And something on the outside had pulled the fence like back. Now the fence I have is like a ranch fence, so it's not like the chain link fence, so people can kind of get a visual. So whatever was standing on the other side was trying to pull back that fence, and that makes no sense, because if it was something as big as a Sasquatch, all they had to do was bend down and get him, basically. So I don't understand what that was about, and I don't think it's from the current clan that I have now. So I do have a clan that is in the area. I have seen one at night, but it was very, very clear. So I just said, you just have to keep going, because I talk to the woods all the time. I clean my land. I've had different people come and teach me how to clean my land with sage. I've also had my partner at the time, Angelique. She's an amazing human being, an amazing person, and so she's taught me a lot. But I've also had people like come on with sound bowls, and the tuning rods, or the dowsing rods. So my property has been cleaned multiple times over and over. It's like a constant thing. But as far as that situation goes, I said, whatever you are, you need to keep moving. And then I asked my clan if it's not if it's not part of the clan, like, I don't know what that was about. Just please escort him out, just out of my area. And so I've had a lot of crazy things happen, but there's so much paranormal also on there. So I will get my phone and I will start filming. And I filmed this one morning. My big wolf dog, she just passed away. She was going through this bush, and this bush, the moose like to eat. And in the back of my property, there's so much of this that I actually ran over some of it with a tractor to clear it out, because they will spy on me in my backwoods. But right now, the story that I'm telling y'all is I was standing out there, and my dog was going through these bushes, and something had me get my phone, and I started filming. Now, and then I could see there was a form there that looked like a Sasquatch sitting down. You could see the perfect outline of it. And then I put my phone down and I looked with my naked eye, and I could not see anything until I put my phone up. So I don't understand what the science behind that. I went in my house, and I thought that was my first like real encounter of seeing the shimmer. I don't know what you want to call it. And then I remember going back out there, and it was not there. It did kind of stand up and walk away, but I was really freaked out. I thought I was crazy. I was putting two and two together. Too many things have happened that for me to say that they are only physical. They aren't. And they are they are a people. So we call them the forest people. They don't like being addressed as a Bigfoot. That is what I was told by some of the local tribal people that I work with. I'm currently working with some people from the Spokane tribe and the Coeur d'Alene tribe, and they want to come out on to my property and possibly help me continue the work, I guess, or I'm not even really sure what I need to do. So I've had way too many things happen where they are not just in the physical form. And there are different types out there. Like in Texas, I never experienced that, and I don't know if I would. I do plan to go back this next winter, and actually the area where I live is Lake Tawakoni, and there's some people that have come to me and said that there are sightings down there. So I'm kind of interested in starting to do that. If we keep snowbirding down at our place down there, because we're not there the whole time. My children have had many, many encounters. I have a lot of recordings. And so this last year, I formed a team, and it was a lot of fun. And that's where my name came from. I think Angelique came up with that name. And so last summer, we had a couple of times where we got together, and we've spoken at a couple of events, and it was amazing. It was like magic. But the problem is that you have so many people in this field, and I'm so naive when it comes to this, because there are some people that they don't want to hear about your encounters of it is dealing with the paranormal. I have had my whole woods change all the time. This last year, I think, when we returned, it was May 1st, and I've had my team on my land. And one day, this girl named Tanya, she has a show. She's amazing. She came with another girl named Dawn, and Tanya had when she was coming down the road, she had pine cones being thrown at her car. And the right side of my property there's something going on with the back right side of my property. I'm being told there's some kind of burial ground back there. I've had people tell me that. And when I go to the back side of my property, I have been hit up with infrasound, only enough to tell me to leave out of the area. So I've been told that that's a sacred place back there. And so Tanya came and Dawn, and they did the sound bowl. Let me tell you what, we had 2 days of cleaning my property, bonding, spending time together. And there's this weird circle that was drawn in the sand of my woods. And I didn't do it. Nobody else in my family did it with the tractor. And it looks like a snail, and it looks like a circle that goes like around. And I didn't even notice it. Tanya came over the second morning so we could do some more work. And the things that we encountered, we got cleaned. Some of us got saged, and we saw 2 tree peekers peeking out from the back of my property. So people have been on my property and they have witnessed things. And I was so anxious to share this with people that I didn't realize I had to protect what I have. And so, for example, here's something that was horrible that I went through, but it's not as horrible as some other people that I talked with. In 2017, I take people's reports also. So in 2017, this lady reached out to me, and she told me she was walking her dog not too far from where I live, and it's the next town over, like 7 miles. And I agreed to meet her. I met her. We hiked in, and it wasn't that difficult, but it was a little hike in. And this is actually on private land now. I think it was always private, but the people would just roam that area, and I guess the owner didn't care. But the new owner does now, because I tried to go back there. Are you kidding me? He almost was like, he just said, no, nobody can come back in here. But what happened is that this lady said she found a structure back there. And so I went to go check it out. The lady had a dog. Well, I walked in, and honestly, it looked like a human had cut some of the ends off, but it was also like interwoven. Things were interwoven. So who's to say there was a fire there? So I just told her, well, I don't know what to tell you. You know, she didn't really experience or see anything. She just thought the structure was strange. So we were leaving. I took a picture of it, and then the picture showed up years later. Like I never
Wait.
saw this photo.
Is this the infamous picture that we were going to
Yes,
talk about today? Okay.
yes.
Awesome. I know you wanted to take this opportunity to kind of give your side of everything. So yeah, definitely take this opportunity.
Okay. So this photo that I took, and it was only once, okay? It was in 2017, and I did share it on one of the local boards, I think, and then I never saw it again until it popped up in my data memories, and I saw this Sasquatch like it was morphing out of a tree. Did I get excited? Of course I did. But then I thought, okay, wait a minute. This was taken in 2017. And then I said, well, I like what happened? Like I didn't do this because I don't even know how to do this. I'm technically challenged. And I remember reaching out to people that know photography, and nobody could explain that photo. But at the same time, someone else said, well, maybe if they did this and this, and I forgot what it was because it was too crazy for me to explain it to y'all. So I've never seen this photo again. Okay, so it looks crazy. And so what I did is I shared it on Facebook, and I do not regret it because I am the type of person that I like to share like what has happened to me. And so I was very candid on how I explained that photo. I said, this is the photo I took, and I had the original. And then I had, and then that one that had been changed. So my friend Glenn had said, because I asked him, I said, do you remember anything about this? So I had shared the original photo on one board. So I have my original photo and then that one. And Glenn seems to think that somebody probably locally could have touched it. All I know is I explained it, and I was saying, this is what happens when you take a photo. But because we do believe that Sasquatch can manipulate photos, and they can, because I've seen it with other photos. I have other photos that are crazy like that I will never show. I have one where I'm sitting by a river, and when I took it, there was nothing there. Well, they were there, but I couldn't see them. And now they're there along the river, and it's not as obvious as that photo. And I explained when I shared it that I don't know what could have happened to this. Is it possible? Could this even be possible? And then I mean, yeah, I did consider it. But then the next thing I know, the photo went viral, and then people took that photo and they came up. I've heard like 3 variations of the story. And then, because I had a team at that time, my concern was well, how is this going to affect the team? And so that's basically it. And I mean, a lot of people actually don't know about this photo, but it did go viral, and I don't know who did it or I don't know what happened.
So to
And
explain a little bit more about the photo, the original photo didn't have a shadow in it. It didn't
no,
look like it was manipulated at all. Now the second photo that you shared, you're saying that someone had manipulated it and you didn't know about it and you just shared it?
I didn't know what happened. When I put
Okay.
on the post explaining it, I was saying this is, and I showed the photo I put first, and then
Hmm.
that one, because it showed up in my memories. So my friend Glenn said that I had shared it on a local board, and I thought I had deleted it because I was getting heckles from some of the locals, and I thought, oh, okay, I'm just not going to share it anymore, even though people were telling me to. But that is the only thing. He said maybe somebody from a local board. No, I didn't know what was happening, so I explained it on the Facebook page. I don't know who did this. I didn't do it, but this, but Sasquatch can manipulate photos. Now, did I say that photo was manipulated? No, I did not. I said, I don't know what happened. And the next
Hmm.
thing I know, it went crazy. And I've had so many people like support me and say, your situation isn't even as crazy as so-and-so situation or so-and-so, like they really
So,
got heckled.
so
So
what was the
I,
backlash for you like? What were people saying? What kind of things?
okay, so they were calling me a liar. No one called me a hoaxer. They called me a liar.
And how did you respond? I mean, how can you respond to that?
Well, I don't really care. I've never really cared about
Oh.
other people's opinions of me are none of my business. I'm I've just always been like that. I was nervous for my team, and I didn't want to. When I saw the situation, I thought, oh my gosh, I hope the team doesn't, like, how is this going to affect like our reputation? Because someone came to me and said, I was like, what? No, like, I don't care. But now I have a team to consider. So what I have learned about this situation is that the the direction I'm going, I'm still going to work with people. So I still had a team, but like I can't speak for other people, and I never really asked anyone else's opinion.
Hmm.
But I had had so many people just come forward to me who actually, like, I was just going to kill the whole thing and just like shut down my Facebook page and just keep like family and friends. But I've had so many people say, no, 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 don't do that. Like, you should keep your brand and you just need to keep going since you really don't care. You're solo now. So I don't really have a team anymore because um, people were going through things. I know, like my partner, she was going through some really hard stuff in her life. And her son actually goes out with her and they go out and do it. And amazing people. And so it kind of just fizzled out because up there in wintertime, I mean, other than me being on my property, it's not like we go out and do a whole bunch of things anyway. And it kind of just happened that way. And then we were asked to speak at some other events. And like in Texas, there was this one event. And I just said no, because I'm not really sure like where the status or if I can even go down there, because I have spent a year of watching my father die from cancer. And I know I've talked with you, Jenna, about that because me
Yeah.
and my dad it was kind of a rocky relationship. And then, but I'm going to tell you, I went to Phenomicon. So, um, but as far as like my property goes, people have been there. I know what has happened. I really don't care of other people's opinions of me because those are not the people that I serve. The people that I serve are the people that want to know um, and know what I experience. So I just like once the team was dissipated, it was like I had 1,000,000 pounds lifted off my shoulder. And then I had two people come forth. One that I'm going to work with her because she lives north of me and she lived on a ranch for 7 years. And she's also a healer, a shaman of sorts. So when I get back home, I am going to get together with her and I'm going to bring her over to my property or she's going to come out. There's like so much to tell y'all, but right now, like I said, my father passed away in February, the last thing that I cared about was what other people had to say about me when I know what the truth is. And my father passed away February the 15th. We hit the road on the 18th because a storm was coming, and I took 4 days to get down to East Texas. And I was there. I went to the ocean. I went to two beaches, and I returned home after my dad's funeral. And my dog, my dog Star, that everybody knows was my baby, she died a week before my dad. So I had a lot of stuff happen to me. Yeah. And so, and I talked with you a lot about that, Jenna. And so when I returned home, then I was home a couple of days, and then I flew here to Utah. But when I get home, what I'm working on right now, so last year, I went to Phenomicon with a friend, and Rebecca Foster is there. She is known worldwide. I didn't even plan to go see her. The only reason we walked up to her booth was because my friend said, I want to go talk to her and the Skinwalker people. I was going over to go see like Russell and all those people because they were there. But as soon as I walked up to Rebecca Foster's table, she said, I can see your Sasquatches. And there's like 8 people standing around, and I'm like, what? She said, yes, you need to take your dog to the vet because she has cancer. The Sasquatches are telling me. I was like, who's this lady? And I'm just like looking at my friend, and she's like, yeah, they're saying maybe cancer or something, so you need to take her to the vet. And then she said that they were trying to communicate through her to me. And they also told her that at one time when she was walking after that they had scared her, and she had said some other things. So this past summer was amazing because I have never spent so much time in my backwoods on the right side of my property and having people there. Heck, my partner actually got sick and she threw up. Whether that was that or not, I don't know for sure. But other people have felt ill going to the back of my property. So something's going on there. I was told that there are portals on my property. Jessica Jones remote viewed my property 2 times, and she got Skinwalker Ranch, just a whole bucket load of stuff. And
I hate to cut you off, Cindy, but I have to tell you, we are out of time, and I wanted to thank you so much for coming on today and being our guest. We really appreciate it. And just remember, you can only control yourself and what you do.
Good night, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. Good night.
Good night.